Hello there. Now, if you ever played Dungeons and Dragons, you've almost certainly been a player and hence had a character. Now, maybe that character came really easily to you, maybe it was pre-generated, or you've just always wanted to play a thief or a mage, or something that just spoke out to you. But once you've made a few characters, or even before that, even maybe this is your first character, you might struggle to come up with an idea that is unique, or will bring something cool and interesting to your game table. With that, and when I have this kind of struggle, I generally tend to end up just rolling randomly for them. So I'll end up rolling the stats out as basically just in order, using the standard roll 4 d6s, so 4 6-sided dice, and then just choosing the highest 3. Now, sometimes I don't have my dice with me, or I just want to create an NPC quickly on the fly, and so I created a Google Sheets document to help me do that. And it can just be a really interesting idea to help, or to attempt to come up with a character just based off of one of these stat rolls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to randomly generate both the race and the background, along with all of the statistics that my character will have. This could end up with me being a hobgoblin wizard, but hopefully we'll come out with something interesting. So let's see what we've got with the first one. Okay, a halfling, guild artisan, and we've got actually really good stats here. 16 is high. Yeah, we've got better than standard array with this first attempt. We've obviously got high strength and high constitution, decent wisdom, decent charisma. This to me is actually screaming out potentially as a barbarian. We've got all the stats we really want for that, some good saves. Dexterity is kind of low, but other than being potentially a cleric, I think a barbarian might actually work quite well here. So I've opened up a character sheet ready for this, and I'm ready to start building our halfling barbarian. I rolled again on the table to find out if they were a stout or a lightfoot halfling, and we got a stout halfling, and it's kind of given me a couple of ideas. So I'm thinking for this character they are going to be a male, and they were originally a apothecist within a market within some city, whichever one fits the world that this was set in. And they were very capable at remembering all of the sort of potions and things they'd been taught growing up as a child, but they struggled to create anything of their own really. They were more than capable at continuing on the trade, but just the desire to do more with their life and to honestly improve something was gnawing away at them. They knew they probably wouldn't be able to make anything that would rival any of the new potions coming out or any of the potions that he was handed down into. So that is kind of where the barbarian rage were coming from, is developing. So we've got this character that is, in general, just a relatively calm, mild-mannered, although probably decent at haggling, potion brewer. But for a halfling, they just have this small desire inside them to not be as behind, which goes a little bit against some of the halfling ideals of being maybe a little bit lazy or a little bit laid back with things. And for the most part our character is going to be laid back, but they have that little spark. So anyway, on to building them. We've got the guild artisan, and let's fill out the halfling traits first. So dexterity we can increase by another 2, which is going to pad out some of our barbarian AC. We've got speed of 25, which isn't great for a barbarian, but not too bad. Lucky, which if you don't know, allows you to reroll ones on any ability checks and things, so lucky is really useful. Our character is brave, as all halflings are. We have our halfling nimbleness. Languages, we have common and halfling, and our subrace we already said is stout, So we have an increase in Constitution by 1, taking us up to 17, and we have a resistance to poison, so stout resilience. Yeah, we'll put that at the top. Cool, and we'll just spell check that. Perfect. So, our proficiency is +2, and we can look to start doing our background. So, Guild Artisan, what do we get with that? If we look towards in the PDF, we find that we have Insight and Persuasion just as raw, which I think kind of makes sense. Well, obviously he sold stuff in the market, we've got decent charisma and good wisdom, so that's not too bad of us. Languages of our choice. As I think since he's selling Apothecary, he's probably been talking to more maybe high-end people, so we'll give him Elvish, just tie in with that a little bit. We have some artisans tools, so we have our Apothecary kit. But yeah, we'll just say artisans tools for now. And we're going to look to potentially, well, we're going to have 15 gold pieces, 15 GP, and we have letter from our guild. Perfect. So, with that, we also have our guild membership, which lets us basically talk to members of our guild whenever we're in a city, which is useful. So we can actually now look on to getting to the meat of the builds, which will be our actual class. Now we've sort of got the idea for it and some of the background. I think the background, it kind of makes sense for them to be, for the alignment at least, to be probably lawful neutral, I would say, given that they probably respect the rule of law whenever they're not sort of raging, but they maybe don't care too much about good or evil so much, or at least they would probably veer more so towards good, but they don't really pick sides in it. They wouldn't go out their way necessarily to make sure that good triumphed or to help bring the rule of evil. So, if we look towards Barbarian, we can see that we can start with 12 plus our Constitution modifier in hit points. So our Constitution modifier will be +3. So we have 15 hit points at level 1. We are a very tanky Halfling at level 1. If we fill in our statistics first as well now, for we've got everything done. So yes, our character is obviously really strong at level 1, which is the issue of rolling. You will sometimes have really strong or really weak characters. I believe for Barbarians we get Strength and Constitution as our saving throws, so we can put that up to +4, and we can put that up to +5. Then we can look to say that we have light and medium armor, which we aren't too worried about with, I think, right now. We have L and M armor, and we have shields, which would be ideal to help pan out some of our AC, and we have standard, simple and martial weapons. Perfect. Tools, none, and 2 from Animal Handling, Athletics, Intimidation, Nature, Perception, and Survival. They haven't spent too much time in the wild, so survival makes no sense. Perception probably makes sense, and Nature, given that they understand about potions and things, they probably have to understand their ingredients. So look to get Nature, and we're going to look to get perception. Oh, we don't have intimidation. I think other than when they're angry, they aren't that scary, really. So we'll look to go with those. First level features. Oh, our equipment. Great axe and any other martial melee weapon. I don't necessarily see this halfling having brought a great axe or anything that's particularly slashing. They probably, at least when they're not raging, are more so looking for a bludgeoning weapon, something that doesn't seem necessarily as overtly, I say fatal, but obviously something like a warhammer would be, right? So we're probably gonna look to take a martial. We're gonna look to take the warhammer. I think the warhammer makes sense. So we're gonna take a warhammer. We're gonna take 2 hand axes or any simple weapon. I think our dexterity isn't the world's highest, but I can imagine, given that he's a halfling and he's quite short, I think a sling is always nice on any halfling, at least in terms of flavour. You sort of have that David versus Goliath kind of feel. So we're going to go with a sling, and I'm going to go for an explorer's pack and 4 javelins. So I don't have a shield, which is sad, and it's something that I would be looking to spend that 15 GP on almost immediately. So we have 4 javelins, and we have an explorer's pack. Perfect. So that's all of those done. Our features. So we're going to have our unarmed armor defense being from our constitution and dexterity of 15, which isn't too bad. It pairs nicely with our hit point maximum. You can get higher than that first level with quite a few classes actually. And we've got +2 to our initiative. We obviously have our rage, which has a present +2 damage, and we can do it twice. Perfect. Hit dice are obviously going to be 1d12 plus 3. And other than that, I think we are pretty good. We'll just look to put some stats in here, so +4. So he's good with insight. His nature is better than it would be, given he spent a long time studying it. It just doesn't come necessarily as naturally. And he's able to sort of do a little bit of old hard sell. Our warhammer is going to be hopefully kind of effective. Let's see. Warhammer is going to be how much damage did the average warhammer do? 1d8 versatile 1d10. So they don't have a shield right now, so I'm going to say that d10 because we are only going to be using it for, well, as on its own. And then we've got a +4 attack bonus with it, which isn't bad. And our sling is also going to be +4, and it's 1d4 +2. And obviously we don't have sling bullets, but most DMs I know will be willing to say, if there's any rocks around, I look to pick some up and put them in my little backpack, ready for when I need them. Our passive perception is 14, so we're spotting a little bit for the party. I mean, he's spent a lot of time in his shop, being watchful, making sure there's no thieves. Character name. We're going to want something probably relatively nice sounding, especially for a halfling. So if we look towards the halfling names, see if there's any that make sense. Roman, I think Merrick. Merrick makes sense. With maybe green bottle. Merrick, green bottle. So you kind of got the idea of the apothecist inside. Personality traits. I would say in general, mild-tempered. Flaw is easy. Feels unable to Oh, actually, that might be closer to an ideal. Yeah, ideal. Wants to improve his potion making. He wants to get better at anything he needs to do in terms of that. His bonds, obviously, to his shop and his family. I think his family are probably, and weirdly for any D&D characters, his family are probably still alive and kicking. They're probably still. He's probably opened up. They're probably still actually working in the same shop as him. So he's probably looked to leave them. Flaws? Obviously the major flaw is that he can fly into this rage, and that's probably what he sees primarily as a flaw. Desperate to prove himself. I think that kind of makes sense. He will do, and if he feels like he's being questioned or his abilities are being sort of maybe put down, he will do basically anything to dissuade those illusions. And with that, I think our character is effectively made. Obviously, you fill these out, but in general, I only fill in the ones with proficiency, and you don't need to see me doing that. So, other than that, yeah, we've made the first character. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I hope this has given you some ideas on either maybe you're going to play Merrick Greenbottle or how you're going to make your own characters. Cheers for watching.